Hey, hello and welcome everyone. It's Friday, February 25th, 2022. I'm Desiree DeMars and I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit of time here with you for the sacred symbol reading. And this is kind of a special event. Usually I try to record this on Saturdays, but today's Friday. And I know it's going to get cold and rainy in the next couple days. So I thought I would catch the sun while it's shining. And also, I just feel a little bit of urgency to share this reading that is going to be dedicated to my dear, sweet friend, Melissa, who transitioned on the 22nd, just a few hours after we did our little evening neighborhood walk and checked in with all the critters and neighbors that were out and about that evening. So, my heart is a little saddened, with the loss of her. I know it's a great loss for the neighborhood because she was kind of this little thread of light, this beautiful, brilliant light that wove the whole neighborhood together. And so now we know she's on the other side, kind of watching over and doing her own soul's work. And so this reading is dedicated to her. And for you, it could be dedicated to anybody that you've lost through these last few years, or 2 years for sure, during the pandemic. And so for all those who've crossed over, I'm going to do this reading today for you. So let's see what words of wisdom they have. I've made an offering already, and I just like you to join me, if you so desire, in a short meditation to align ourselves, activate our superconscious, and tap into the greater field of divine and sacred wisdom. So I invite you now to close your eyes, get settled into wherever you are, your cushion, your couch, your bed, and allow your body to relax. Allow your breath to flow in and out deeply. And if you can, take a few breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth so you can allow the jaw to relax, signaling the rest of the body to relax. The neck, the head, the shoulders, your belly, your brain, your eyes, ears. Let them all deeply relax. And then imagine a divine and sacred white light coming down from the heavens, surrounding you and anchoring you down to the center of the earth, grounding you, aligning you with the divine feminine, the earth star below your feet. And as you're aware of that, of this grounding, of this alignment and connection, this activation of the iron molten core of our great mother Gaia, just feel that alignment with your own iron core, with the blood that runs through your veins, the hemoglobin, that vital life force that flows, the energy that expands and carries the electromagnetic signals throughout the body, connecting the body-mind. Just acknowledging that, allowing that acknowledgement to open up your heart with gratitude and appreciation for the miracle, the miraculous aspects of all of life within you that you do not have to be consciously aware of, but that function below the surface, subconsciously. It is kind of a circus, but just acknowledge that there is There's a realm, there's a world below the surface of what we see and feel and sense in our physical form, keeping us healthy and vital. And then with that grounding in the divine white light, just imagine as it flows back up naturally through our toroidal field, which is like a donut or this figure 8, this cycle of the Ida and the Pingala, the masculine and the feminine that cross at all of the chakras. Just notice how those chakras are ignited as those energies flow upward, activating red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And they infuse a rainbow of light and acknowledge this rainbow energy of our ancestors, infinite and eternal. And then acknowledge the emotional aspects of these chakras: joy, peace, strength, courage, gratitude, humility, and divine love. Just take a moment to notice if any of those got activated or tweaked. Just brought a little signal of awareness to the forefront of your mind. Joy, peace, strength, courage at the heart, gratitude, humility, and divine love. And with that divine love flowing out of the top of your head, just imagine now this toroidal field activated and connecting across the veil to your ancestors. This was like the signal. It's like turning on the switch to the language or the communication, the frequency of our ancestors, of all of our helping spirits. And then I'd like you to imagine a golden pyramid above the head, high above the crown chakra, allowing that golden alchemy to ignite these positive and negative forces, uniting them, creating something new, planting new seeds, and just feeling as if it were this atomic activation, a big bang within you, just like the cosmos, that these stellar integrations, these stellar activations are happening in the cosmos all of the time, 24/7, without our awareness of it, without our conscious awareness. But this cosmic activation is also happening within us. And we know now that this activation is definitely amplified by the sun and the solar rays, the frequencies, the photonic light that is expanding and broadening our awareness of our own light being, our own light beingness as we move through the photon belt. So just be aware of that, acknowledge, and feel a moment or take a breath to just open the heart and be in gratitude and receptivity to receive any information from these higher octaves, these greater frequencies that are now more readily accessible to us as this veil is thin and there's a lot of crossing over going. So again, I just offer to you to take a breath or two and dedicate this reading or this time or this inquiry to receiving information from the other side, especially from those loved ones that we held so dearly in our hearts here. And so now with this activation, with this relaxation, just feel the ability within yourself to not only be more grounded, but also to be more expanded at the same time. To find that deep inner balance of masculine and feminine within yourself and outside of yourself. Just see if you can allow that to be reflected back to you more deeply. So with the next breath, when you're ready, you can just come back with your awareness into the room, into this space. And I'm going to rattle and whistle a moment just to allow that to trigger our theta alpha states, bringing us into those higher frequencies, switching the dial up or fine tuning it even a little further before we blow our intention into the basket. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, infinite creator of all that is, come and be with us as we sit in the sacred and divine circle, hearts open with gratitude and appreciation for walking this good red road. May we be receptive and aware of the wisdom, the guidance, and the understanding that you're bringing our way today during this reading. Come and be with us, all of the directions, the east, the south, the west, the north, above, below, and the middle. All of the elementals, earth, air, fire, water, ether, plasma, neutrinos, gammas, and all those elements yet unknown to man. Come and be with us. Come and be with us. All of our guides, angels, teachers, guardians, helpers, the magical and the mystical, the seen and the unseen, the two-legged, the four-legged, the many-legged and the winged ones, the finned ones and the creepy crawlers. Come and be with us. Come and be with us. Hearts open in gratitude and appreciation for the beauty and wisdom that is to flow through these sacred symbols and bring us insight, wisdom, inspiration, and direction, especially about those that we love and those who've crossed over. Come and be with us, all of our ancestors, those who've gone before us, lived a good life, transcended, and are now here working on our behalf. Come and be with us, all of those whose names we do not know, but whose blood runs through our veins. We ask that you sit with us in this sacred circle, guiding us, bringing us wisdom and appreciation to new levels, new levels of understanding. Come and be with us. And for all this beauty, wisdom, and guidance that we receive, may we also be a reflection of that out into the world, to all those we come in contact with, and to all those who are seeking this wisdom and understanding on their own individual paths. And may we take a deep breath of appreciation and celebration for Melissa and all those who are on the other side with her. So I'm going to invite you to take your intention with that into your heart and then blow it into the basket with the symbols 3 times. And I will join you. And before I do that, I'm going to tip the screen down so you get a chance to see these pieces as they land. I see somebody went flying off. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see what flew off. The sun. So the energy of the sun is in this outermost area, which makes sense. It's like the sun is connecting with the ancestors, being that bridge for this connection, for this symbols reading here today. Just trying to get this the best I can. Let's move it. There we go. I think we could switch it forward a little bit and maybe just get part of this computer off the screen. There we go. That looks good. Got a little extra light on here today, and hopefully it will help in your view, your understanding of it. And here I'm going to tip it forward. Don't you go anywhere. And that little piece wanted to scoot off, and that is our vision. This is all about the vision, the dream, the future. So let's see what's happening today. Here's the inquiry. This little piece of coral is all about calling in, bringing that inquiry in, and the key to whatever your inquiry was today, it's coming right out of that reach. Very interesting. This little cluster of pieces. I noticed things today kind of felt in little groupings, you know, because often they might just spread themselves out, but they seem to kind of stay grouped together for some reason. I did a session earlier today that was really amazing, and a piece went flying off. It was definitely a little more spread out. So this is really fascinating to me, that things are kind of pulled in a little more tightly. So in noticing that, the inquiry is resting on Mercury, which is all about communication. So communication about something that is not yet created, or if any of you have lost a child through miscarriage, abortion, maybe even adoption, having to have given up a child, it can represent several things. Any of those situations, or this little piece, this bone that's about what is not yet created, is about also just something yet unformed, yet manifest, not yet manifest. And that would make total sense here alongside of this larger bone that's all about transfiguration. And here is our star nations. So there's something about the source from where we came. You know, that aspect of us is really in a big transfiguration right now. And there's still something about it that is not yet created, not yet formed, still in its infancy or pre-infancy. Maybe it's just an inkling of a desire that you have about your vision, about where you're headed. But the key to all of that is really, here's Buddha looking within, seeing this here's Saturn, and Saturn is right next to the sacred, and also resting on, let's see what it's resting. Oh, wow, it's resting on horse. I'll take it apart here so you can see, but it's resting on horse right next to a timekeeper, which that's going to be interesting. Here's transformation, our little reptilian friend. But this idea of Saturn, old structures, you know, the game plan, the authority figures, there's still something that is in the process of unfolding, maybe a completion. But it's really fascinating to me. This is the other, and it's covering up a pointer that points right back to the key. And again, the key is, I'll just tip this over so you can see, is Buddha. He's facing down, but this is the awakened one. You know, the one that has the insight, the direct revelation about suffering, about the journey in the world as a human. And And so the other, whoever that other is, they're face down. So it's they too, like Buddha, there's some kind of there's an aspect of contemplation. And we know that through mediumship, those who are mediums. I know in my own practice of mediumship, when I sometimes tune in for people, what I discover or understand from the communication is that even though someone might be desiring this communication or this information from them in a particular way, the soul that's crossed over may not be ready to express that quite yet, or they may be in their own healing process. My discovery with mediumship has been that it's not like the soul leaves this earth plane, in which we know some don't, some stick around for a while. But even if they've left and they've transcended into a place where they are evolving is a process there too, not just here. And so energetically, they too are evolving and may not be the right soul or the soul that is ready to pass on the information that the seeker is looking for. So there is something about this deep internal going within and knowing that sometimes the journey of or the experience of some kind of a suffering is just part of a process, a greater process of transformation, and that it too is a sacred journey. And sometimes what it takes is just going deeper, a little more introspection or reflection. That's what this little shell is about, in introspection. And this piece is about home, and this is about community. This piece of elk horn is all about community, how, elk is about, they support one another. It's not about, just the one. It's about supporting the tribe or gaining support from the tribe, or the fact that the tribe is the support, and support is connecting into community. This is interesting because this was something that came up today earlier too, that community then can also be a much greater community, which is our star nations. And star nations is all about the source from which we came, as I said earlier. And this is really interesting. So there's an ancestor here. So a young one, not only maybe a child, the unborn, or a young child that was just birthed. Here we have father. This little bone with the blue tip is father. So your father or somebody's father, a father-like figure, is kind of nestled, embraced around this deer toe, this deer tip. This is all about innocence, introspection, not introspection, but innocence, and that idea that innocence is really connected to our true source, that part of us that is just purely innocent in divine love, aligned with that idea of pure light. Let's put it that way, of pure divine light. So just taking all that into consideration as kind of what is surrounding us, or what is right out there in front of us as we are calling in, this is Rattle, calling in community, space and time for reflection. This again about our home, which could be the physical home, but it can also mean the home within us, like our heart within ourselves, home within ourselves, when we feel at home in our own bodies. And this is grandmother on your father's side, your paternal grandmother. And these are the great grandparents on your mother's side. The greats, the great greats, the great great greats, really, they're being called upon right now. This wisdom is really being called upon, I would say, from the grandparents and the great greats. This is really what's being called upon, to find the sacred wisdom from the grandparents, and here's the great grandparents on the paternal side. So you have maternal and paternal great greats. And what they're bringing in is a new frequency, a new energy. That's what this little nautilus, this little spiral shell is all about, bringing in or bringing an awareness to us about the energetic field that is changing, that is evolving, that is connecting us to this greater home, this greater community, this greater sense of community. That's our star nations, our star people, the source from where we came. And this is all about our evolutionary journey. That's what this shell is about, the evolutionary journey, and pairing, partnering with that part of ourselves, that higher level of consciousness, the human and the superconscious. So that is really beautiful. This is of interest too. This this bone is about a fork in the road. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. If you just look at this symbol, you could say, wow, there's a fork right there. It's almost like a wishbone, you know, this fork in the road. Is it this way or that way? And it's resting on a domino that represents the spiritual journey in a much larger sense, like of humanity, and it's facing up with the ivory side up. The ebony side is face down, and this ivory side has the number 3 on it, which is all about the creative life force, or acknowledging and embodying the creative force that you are, the creative source within you as expressed through you. And I think this is a big theme right now, especially with, as we understand more about those who've crossed over and what that means for us. In shamanic terms, another way we talk about is becoming an ancestor. And so it's no accident, I think, that this little blue stone here is about the third eye, you know, activating our insight, trusting our inner sight, our inner wisdom. And then we have the throat chakra. So, you know, expressing that, which was part of what was underneath the inquiry about Mercury, another idea or expression or symbol of communication, and creating from that. So creating, and here's Pachamama. Below that, I wanted to see what was below that, and it's the planet Neptune. So there's sometimes things about Neptune, and it's funny, it's kind of a double whammy here. I noticed a lot of people said it was a really intense week for them. And I know for me, it was, you know, the loss of this dear sweet friend of mine. And when I shared that with some other people that know her, they expressed that they also lost another friend the same day. And so, you know, I think we're kind of, you know, it's a double whammy. It's kind of this aspect of Neptune that's a little bit about the fog. And then this spiral shell is about, you know, revealing what is, or trying, you know, understanding when there are things that get in the way or slow us down and create us to take pause, that we also see that as sacred, that we see that as part of the journey, because sometimes that experience can actually save our lives, right? I mean, I always think of the metaphor. I've been so many times in journeys somewhere physically, going somewhere, and then, you know, you have the fog comes in or the rain starts and you can barely see. And so the message there is, what do you do when you feel like this double whammy, or things are kind of not working in your favor, or seem to be slowing things down, or creating this fog? And the answer is you slow down, right? You slow down, you take pause. I mean, do you hurry up if you're on a mountainside? I've had to ask myself that many a time. You know, navigating a mountainside to get somewhere, and the fog rolls in, or the snow starts falling, or the rainstorm blows in. And what do? Do you speed up to try to hurry up and imagine where you're going? No, you slow down. That's the medicine. This is dragon's blood. So it says, you know, take notice of the medicine that is there in the moment, in the sacred moment, the wisdom in the moment that says, take a breath, slow down. Take a pause, and just, see the bigger picture, look within and see what's going on. And if you need to, you ask, right? Throat chakra can also be exactly what Rattle is saying here. He's, calling in, ask for help, ask for guidance, seek out wisdom, tap into your community, and get some support about moving forward, get some insight about what would be the most efficient way to move forward. And so what's beautiful about, these different areas of information that are kind of almost at opposing locations in this diamond here is there's the heart too. The heart is saying, take score of what you're feeling in the heart. It's just not a mental game. You have to remember that the heart usually leads the way in a much better, a clearer, more concise, more efficient way. And then we have talking stick, Jupiter, the great mystery, and here you are. So, just take into consideration, the great mystery is your friend. Sometimes not knowing is really a blessing. Sometimes just allowing the greater, how could I say it? The greater possibility being there, is often exactly what is needed. Just being in the mystery, right? And not maybe knowing all the answers, allowing for more time, slowing down to allow something greater to unfold. And right now that's really being amplified. I would say this whole idea that I just spoke of, slowing down, trusting the heart. This is talking stick, speaking your truth. It might give you time to really contemplate what you're really feeling in your heart, so you have time to express the truth about, how you feel, rather than just, what it made me just think of when we have intense situations or experiences like a loss of a loved one. It's so easy to someone say, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Okay, everything's great. Yeah, no, maybe it's not great. Just say, well, I'm a little off center today. I'm a little discombobulated. I just lost a loved one, and I'm going through the process of either grieving or trying to understand the great mystery of this journey called life that we're on as a human being. And just taking in that wisdom. And here is mother between both ancient ancestors. On the paternal side, your paternal ancient ancestors, both the masculine and the feminine. And what their message is today for us, I believe, is about grounding, the importance of grounding. We don't have to maybe know the answer, and we may never know all of the answers, but the wisdom in that is to really tap into this ancient wisdom. Know that it comes through our bones, through our ancestors, especially our mother. That's part of the message today. Excuse me, that the mother, the energy of the mother, and this is the grandfather on your mother's side, maternal, the mother, maternal, the maternal grandfather, your mother's father. And it's like you are resting on the bones of this grandfather and your mother, and this feminine lineage here, and this wisdom of the masculine ancient ones who are here side by side, really kind of being the guardians, the gatekeepers of this experience. So it's interesting as I look at kind of this spiral too that has unfolded. It looks like, as I mentioned, grandfather, paternal grandfather. Here's the DNA of yourself and of the ancestors kind of on this cycle. There's something about a cycle. Here's the shaman, the angelics, soul retrieval, the loss of a loved one, that kind of shock and trauma. Maybe that's what is actually being retrieved right now, right? This aspect of some kind of shock or trauma that we may have experienced in our ancestral lineage of our journey as a human. Maybe we've lost ancestors, and now is the perfect and most beautiful time to really allow ourselves to just be in the mystery, of it all, to really allow this new form of communication to come through. And I think that's really affecting the work that we're doing in the world, because here again, this was a theme earlier today, that here is the this red coral rose is about first chakra, so our foundations and our mental balance, our health and well-being, mental well-being, the mind, balanced mind, and again, work. What does that mean? Maybe you are actually having a review right now about how that fits into the vision. How does that fit into the greater vision or purpose about your soul's purpose? And this bone represents a rebirth. So, we're all going through a rebirth, and here's the mother, this divine energy of the mother, to support us in our own rebirthing, our own remembering, our own soul remembering, a soul retrieval. Just know that by asking for that, you can receive. Ask and you shall receive. Ask before your dreams tonight, that you might get information about a soul retrieval, some aspect that is coming back into your awareness about a loss, a shock, a trauma, or a loss of a loved one in your life. And just know that this is part of the journey that we're on now. We are retrieving this ancient wisdom, and it's helping us have ancestral healing. It's assimilating and integrating into our electromagnetic field through our brain. Our brain actually has receptors. We know through the beautiful work of Candace Pert, a scientist who discovered the truth about these receptors in our brain, that indeed is a part of the body-mind connection. This is where all of the information about body-mind connection was validated in science. And so we know this is truth. There is a body-mind connection. In fact, we know through the research of the Heart Math Institute that the heart itself has an electromagnetic field even greater than the brain. And it's the heart and this healing of the heart, our own self-love, self-compassion, as we give ourselves that gift and we do this work to have soul remembering and soul retrieval, we are in fact receiving and giving our brain new signals, new information, new ways to open up these opiate receptors in our brain, so that we have the opportunity to consciously repattern or recode the brain and say, yes, we may have had trauma from the past that played out a certain way, and now we have the opportunity to have a soul remembering about the greater picture, not just the human experience. Or also, what I found today earlier came through this beautiful journey that my client went on to do ancestral healing for both herself and for the benefit of her two sons, which included even work for her ex-husband. This soul remembering, this work, this energetic field that we're working on with our intention and our heart, right? Our heart's desire, which is really here at the center, to become one with the creator, or to become one again with the creative self, that we were made in the image of the God, right? Of the God self, of the creative self. And even through the fog and the uncertainty, the doubt, the fears. That was what was uncovered today, which was beautiful. Sometimes it's just about the fear. And what's beautiful is the perfect way to balance fear is to go into the heart. The heart is the chamber or the container of courage, right? So it has exactly what we need to move through the fears we might have of creating something new, taking that leap into an area that's from the past was filled with some kind of pain or trauma. And now we're telling it, we're reprogramming that part of the brain and our understanding to say, no, it's not necessarily, it wasn't a bad thing. It was on a greater level, in the bigger picture, in a higher perspective. Here's Buddha looking on to this at like saying, in the greater perspective. And when we are in that state or stage of enlightenment, of our own enlightenment, we are seeing the truth of these experiences we may have had or our ancestors had before us and carried through into the present moment in us, in our life. We are now seeing with clarity and wisdom from a greater perspective. We know we're not just our bodies. We know we're not just the mind. We are a body, mind, spirit that is soul, guided by the soul, guided by the source of our soul's journey. And so what's important in that soul's journey, I see here is, this is one of the little vertebrae of the sea lily. This one came from the desert floor of Taos. But there are many places where this earth was once covered by water and these giant sea lilies lived. And they are bringing guidance to us about grounding, that we must have our roots in the mud. The mud is the nourishment. The mud is the foundation. And if we are indeed living through a time now where Saturn, this energy of Saturn, the old structures and patterns are falling away. We must see them as sacred in order to release them so that we can move forward into like a rebirth, a rebirthing of this new way of being. And we have the ancient ancestors on both the men and the women on our father's side and the paternal lineage. They are guiding us to trust this great mystery, trust the unfolding of all of it, and know that we are on the path. We are living proof. We are the living path. We are the living expression of this path of evolution. And so I would say it's absolutely true and beautiful what I just said, because here we see the star coin, which is make a wish. It's right next to the lock, which is what I said, so interesting that the key was right here. Sometimes the answer is right in front of us, right? Right before us. Take note of that. What question do you have in your life now that you feel like you've been stumped by, or you don't understand, or you want a deeper level of understanding? And I'll bet you the answer is right there in the asking, right there in the inquiry, right there in that place of innocence, which is that child, the inner child within you that has always known, has always been in alignment with that answer. And it's so beautiful that that innocence is in the embrace of the Father, this divine Father aspect. And then over here, right next to you, is the mother, right? The mother and the grandfather, just really giving you support, amplifying that wisdom of saying it's all about abundance, that in truth, our birthright is pure abundance, that we are creators in this place of the great mystery. And this piece is all about abundance, this golden coin. So that is beautiful. That is our birthright. And that is part of our natural state here, wherever we are, whether we're in alignment or in awareness, conscious awareness with our star people, our star nations, or the star that we are, or whether or not we are just grounded in the earth, in our humanness, in our physical form. And that message here, the physical, is really saying, what is it that is reflecting to you? This is the moon. So the body, touching the moon and sitting beside the ancient ancestors on your paternal lineage of the women, the women, the ancient ancestors on your father's side, the women who went before you, before your mother. So there's something, about this idea too of where is home? Where is your true home? This is the wish coin for the home. And there's something about the medicine, or this is an amulet. This is Uranus. So when things are feeling like they just pop in sudden and unexpectedly, it's a call to us to awaken and to remember. I feel that this week with the loss of my friend Melissa, that the beauty of her passing is that she is reminding me that we're all being called home on some level, and it may happen suddenly, unexpectedly, when we least imagine. In fact, on our walk that we went on a couple hours before her transition, she told me about how incredible she felt, how beautiful she was feeling, her life had unfolded, how she had just done some really deep work with her, around her family, her children, her ancestors. And, so here she is now. This heart is all about divine union with ourself, divine union with ourself, with the self, with the one, with the creator at the core of our true self, right? And here's Pluto. So it's like, yeah, we're all getting whammied with Pluto, whether you like it or not. This is what's happening. Big stuff, right? And this is about the earth, big stuff happening on the earth right now. Big changes, whether we like them or not. There's no stopping it. The planet itself, the earth itself, is going through huge transformation. We have created this, we've been part of the creation of this predicament that the earth is in with a mass extinction right now of life force. Every creature on the planet right now is going through transformation, and we were part of creating that. This is the blueprint that we are all walking on, that we are all living out. And it's part of a ceremony in a sense. If you could look at it as a ceremony of the heart, this is drum, the heart resting on Pachamama, or not Pachamama, but the divine feminine. So at the heart, it's interesting, it's resting right on her heart at her center. So do a little ceremony for yourself. This little stone that is lying below this idea of ceremony is about your earth star, your groundedness, grounding your chakras into the earth in order to have your crown chakra more open. We can only expand as broadly as we are deep into our grounding. We have to be absolutely grounded to really withstand the impact or the power. I know this has happened to many people who are on a spiritual journey. You could say, sock it to me. I'm ready. Let me have it. I'm done with this stuff. And then bam, all right, you get it. And you get knocked flat on your feet. We as humans, we think that we somehow have some handle over this idea. We have an idea of control. But the truth is, here's our little friend, Frog. And he's all about, if you can learn how to straddle both worlds, more power to you. But just know you're going to have to let go of whatever no longer serves. That's what this little dagger here is. This heart-shaped dagger says, you're going to have to cut away what no longer serves. If you want to be able to breathe in the water when the water comes, or when you're drowning in emotions, you're going to have to know how to cut through that in order to have this higher level of wisdom that you're seeking, this greater way of being, and you're going to have to be grounded in order to integrate it, in order to assimilate it. So that's a beautiful message. And then coming around to the end of the reading and this beautiful spiral that's been created here, back to kind of what I was saying about this experience of a creative fork in the road. There's a young ancestor on the paternal side. So if there's a young one on your father's side, just take note of that. Something being created or creation of or from. But here is Nautilus, and Nautilus is on top of this pine, this kind of little pine, you know, the leaf, the little off a giant pine cone, which is really beautiful from California. You know, pine trees, the pine, the bristlecone pines are the most ancient creatures, or some of the most ancient creatures on this planet. And they withstand by just rooting themselves into the rock. They are the bedrock of the earth. And I say just some of the life forms because I'm sure there's life forms under the ocean floor that we know nothing about. Maybe we're just discovering some of them. I know with some of the technology now that we can go down there and see and understand what's going on. In fact, I know we are, because I've seen documentaries about amazing life forms that live off the gases that just come up out of the Earth's surface. And you would think that they would be blasted. They're thousands of degrees in temperature. And yet those creatures live off those gases and form structures that are part of the sea floor. And so this is all about honoring the emotions, honoring the element of water and what these emotions bring forth into our life. And just knowing that this is Mars, Mars is nudging us to move forward. Evolution only moves forward, not backward. And this evolution, these emotions are resting on this clarity of mind. The grandmothers on our maternal side, on our mother's side, our maternal grandmothers. And this meteorite, is all about remembering the magic and the mystery of our source, of our star source, right? That it was the magic and the potency, the power of these iron particles that came to the earth and began to create the alchemy that was needed for atmosphere so that we could breathe on this earth. So honoring that as grandmother, these incredible aspects of alchemy, that's the iron in our blood. That's the iron core of the earth. That's the core of our blueprint. And so just acknowledging too, the importance of, this is Bear. I wanted to mention that about ceremony. Sometimes ceremony is all about just going within and introspection. Bear, introspection, having time for introspection about the blueprint from which you are living out this beautiful dream and having an experience right now of transfiguration. You are transforming yourself and aspects of yourself so that you can evolve into the future, into the vision of your future. And then I'm going to tip this forward a little so you can just see it, because it's such a beautiful spread today. And also point out that this piece here is all about our third chakra, yellow, solar plexus, finding our power from much greater sources. Power does not always come from a direct source, around us, surrounding us, but something much greater. And then that reflects something within us that is truly in our central channel, the oneness, our oneness to source, to our source, to, this I think is where the Wow. Okay. This is a beautiful way to end the reading today. It's like really see the blessings in those who have gone before us, lived a good life and transcended, and are now here teaching us how to connect, how to communicate with the other side, so that as we become ancestors, we are becoming, we are becoming the wise ones that are needed to be of service on the planet right now. Because I would say that this dice here on the one and where it's located here at the center is really saying this is a moment where, we meet our maker. This is the moment to acknowledge the meeting of your maker and the maker within you, the co-creator. Meet your own maker, be your own medicine, right? How can you be your own medicine in this incredible evolutionary process, this transfiguration that we're going through? Really tap into star nations, the sun, the source from where we came, as part of this beautiful journey that we're on. So thank you for joining me today. And with that said, let me tip the screen back up and I'm going to rattle a little bit just to end the ceremony, to close the circle and thank all of the ancestors and those who came to guide us through this beautiful reading today. So just taking that all in to digest and integrate throughout your week. And again, allowing the heart to open with gratitude and appreciation. And then closing the circle. So I hope that was insightful for you today and piqued your interest in understanding the power and the potency of the sacred symbols, of symbols in general, of metaphors, and of this beautiful